So one more quick example, and this was something I did at the end of class. And I asked the question, what if you were modeling not with sticks and wire, but like trace and wire or latex and fabric, and wanted to create surfaces in between your wires? So here I have the same model from the previous tutorial, and I'm going to see what would happen if, or show you how to create a surface between wire 1 and wire 3. So they both, we've created the curves from points by presumably measuring a wire model. And what I'm going to do is evaluate the curve, wire 1, at some parameter, t, which is going to be our, say, the beginning point of our surface. And I'm going to do the same thing. Oops. Copy, paste. Same thing for wire 3. And I can use that to draw a line. And that's going to be the line that's going to begin my sweep. So now what I need is a set of lines to end the sweep. So actually what I could do is I could just kind of copy all of this. Let's maybe move it that way. Copy, paste. And that's giving me second line. So let's call this, get a curve parameter. Call that section 1. Section 2. And what we can do is we can go to the surface menu and get a sweep along 2 rail curves. And wire 1, that's going to be our first rail curve. And wire 3 over here, that's going to be our second rail curve. And then the start section, use section 1. Right, and you can see that's now creating a surface that's going all the way to the end. And if we want to stop it, we can just hold down Shift and connect up section 2. Right. And now we have a sort of variable surface being created, as if what we had done is used a piece of trace or a piece of cloth to create a surface along our 2 wires. Now, one thing that you need to think about is this surface would be great if what you want to do is produce a rendering. But if you're producing a drawing, actually maybe not so much. So what might be better for you, rather than producing a surface that you can make 2D, because it doesn't make 2D very well, is you could take that surface and use the isocurve parameter to get a bunch of lines back out of it. And I think isocurve, here we go. So what isocurve produces, and I just hit reparameterize to reparameterize my surface, is it needs a bunch of UV points. So to create some UV points, oops, right? Like if I give it, if I just create a point like this, you can see that it's using If I move in this direction, the x is actually the u coordinate, right? It tracks along the u coordinate of the surface. If I move this, the v tracks along the v coordinate of the surface. If I just want my v lines, I could turn off the preview here. Right? And you can see that tracks the v line as u changes. It doesn't really matter what my u coordinate is. Like there's a point moving along there. So all I really need now is a range. So I could say sets range, and the default is from 0 to 1, right? 0 to 1. And this will give us our number of values, and let's say we want 100 values. We can use that as the input to x, and we could turn that into a series of lines. And the reason why you might want to do that is that what you might want to do if what you're producing is a line drawing and not a rendering is you might want to bake those lines onto a layer called surface lines or something. Oops. And bake your wires onto a layer called wires. Oops. Or wires for export. So that when you create your 2D output, you say make 2D, if you make sure to check maintain source layers, it will mean that you could create a drawing where you could give this blue a really heavy line weight, and you could give the white a really light line weight. And that would be a way of understanding that this is a surface curving in space. If you try to make 2D a surface, what you end up getting is just the outline, which in a line drawing is often not very helpful. So this, of course, you can still bake your surface if what you're doing is outputting it to a rendering or something like that. Oops, let me bake that onto a different layer just to show you what I mean. Right. So here, if I turn off my surface lines, right, you can see I've now got a surface and I've got these two lines. And if I try to do a make 2D of that, this is what I end up with. Which doesn't make for a very clear drawing, whereas that will. But this is something I can render, whereas the surface lines, that is something that I cannot.